record. Awesome. You're up, Robert.
All right. Welcome once again. Welcome to our guest, Vivian. We have a special presentation in our mentorship series. I am proud to welcome this individual once again, and we will be talking, his speech will be about effective evaluations. Evaluations are very important as part of our growth in Toastmasters and anywhere else for that matter. So fellow Toastmasters, I'd like to present to you effective evaluations. Jim Kearney, effective evaluations. Jim.
Woohoo! Thank you, Robert. I appreciate the introduction. I am going to immediately share my screen and let's get right on with it. Okay, share screen and me and let's get this presentation mode. Okay, you guys see a single picture?
Yes.
Awesome, we're ready to go. I would like to remind everybody that you are not in this alone. You see my contact information there. And do you like that phone number?
It's big.
It's
yes, we can see it.
It's supposed to be 818, not 919.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was going, what is that? I don't recognize that number.
It's supposed to be 818.
You messed up.
Yes, I did. That's because I had these big fingers and I was typing today and I hit the 9 instead of the 8. And I just saw it just now. So this is my contact information. Just remember that's 818 instead of 919. And if you happen to have questions or whatever, sometimes in the future about what we're going over, please feel free to contact me. We are not in this alone. We are here to help. And everybody wishes that we are all successful. Why do we do it? What's the purpose of evaluations? But we're talking today about the art of effective evaluations and why Toastmasters does this. In Toastmasters, we want to develop a public speaking skills and leadership skills. And in order to do this, it requires us to receive feedback. You can only develop with that feedback. If you don't have feedback, you have no idea what you're doing right or wrong. And that's the purpose of evaluations, to be able to sit there and listen to the person who's speaking and tell that speaker what you felt and what you thought and what you received from that speech. Evaluations are the very key to success for Toastmasters. So as an evaluator, you need to observe the speech, doing the different functionary roles, and provide very personal feedback. And today we're going to discuss how to do that in an effective manner so that the speaker can absorb what you say and change his habits or her habits and become a better communicator and more effective leader. Now, we all know that we like tasty food. It's my big thing. Everything about me is food, food, food. And so I'm going to be teaching what is called the sandwich technique today. As an evaluator, you have been evaluating since the time you could speak. Now, I know you're going to sit there and say, oh, Jim, you're so full of it. I haven't. But yes, you have. When you went out there and you had to choose between vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream or strawberry ice cream, you evaluated which one you enjoyed more and chose accordingly. Anytime that you turn around and give your opinion on something, you are evaluating. The tone and the content of your evaluation has an impact on the way people receive it. If you're too harsh, people will walk away. If you're too glowing, nobody is going to improve. Good evaluators strive to have a balance. You want to be helpful when something is wrong, and you want to be encouraging to keep people coming back. And the sandwich technique is designed around having some good points at the top so that you can build the speaker up. Then there are one or two key points of improvement. And then, of course, you follow on with encouraging good points to make that speaker want to come back and do better. What we will be covering tonight, we're going to be covering the evaluator's role, how to prepare for this role, your evaluations and the steps to succeed, how you say it because your words matter, your delivery because your actions impress, and your conclusion because you want to encourage. And last but not least, your follow-up because not everything was said. The evaluator's role is very simple. You are here as an evaluator to provide honest reaction, heartfelt, in a constructive manner. You're not just a judge. You're not an authority on speaking. You are giving your opinion, nothing more. So it behooves you, when you're talking about your opinion, to sit there and talk about your reaction to that speaker or leader. Mention the effect that that speech has had on you, what you felt when that speaker was speaking, what you saw when that speaker was speaking, what you thought about when that speaker was speaking. What did they do well to convey their message? What areas can they improve on to more effectively deliver that message? Specific recommendations for improvement are very, very important, because with those recommendations, you want to give a why. If you don't have that why in there, then that speaker has no idea as to why they should change. And your why makes their speech more effective if they can understand what you're saying and how it affected you. And of course, you always want to give that encouraging note for future speeches because you want that speaker to come back. Keep in mind, when you speak or when you're evaluating, there's different things that are going on. So as a speaker, you're going to turn around and get evaluated. Someone else is evaluating you while you're evaluating them. You always get the feedback loop for the improvement. And this loop that you see here is the way that it's always going to have to happen. You cannot force a speaker to accept your ideas. You can turn around, you can express those feelings, you can express what you saw, but what the speaker does with that information is totally and completely up to the speaker. You can't change the speaker's behavior. You can't demand, I didn't like that speech whatsoever. You got to do it again. Oh, here we go. Here we go. You got to do it again. Now, no, sorry. Doesn't work. Not going to happen. You can't demand that something gets repeated. You can suggest it. You can suggest that they work it out to become a pocket speech so that they would practice it more often, but you can't force them to do it again. Your evaluation, however, will give that speaker ammo. And that's ammo that speaker can use in the future speeches that they give. Your delivery and the way you say it and the way you deliver it will persuade them to either accept or reject your suggestions. Now, there are a lot of people who are thinking, oh my God, I'm such the greatest speaker in the world. I really don't care what you're going to do. I'm going to get that check for my DTM. But if you turn around and you tell them constructively why you think certain things are wrong and how, if they change it, the perspective of the audience will change. That will have major impact on the way the speaker receives that information. So always give a why. It's very important. Now, if you're not the assigned evaluator, and we have this in all our clubs, we always tell people we're going to take 1 minute on the clock, give some feedback. If you're not the assigned evaluator, we do have evaluation forms on the table if you're meeting in person. We have the chat room if you're meeting via Zoom or online. Give your feedback and always give it the same way as if you were an evaluator. There's a reason for this. I know a lot of people, when they go out there and they're not the evaluator, they say nothing, even when it comes time for those special love notes that you want to give, but they don't write them. The more feedback that a speaker receives, the better that speaker can become. You will never know if the thoughts you have inside your head about what that speaker did would be of any benefit to them if you never give that feedback to the speaker. So give it. Even if it's not required, give it anyway. You don't have to be so detailed, but they do need the feedback. It will make them a better speaker, and that's the whole purpose of evaluations. How do we prepare now? So everyone take a step back. Think about what's going to happen. If you're going to be the evaluator of somebody, we all know it. We all do it all the time. We've been assigned as an evaluator, and we know what you go into the website and you see the evaluation form, you read the objectives, you know what's going to happen. So how do you do these things? I'll tell you this, whether you know it or not, that speaker spends a lot of time preparing. I'm not so sure that it's necessary as much time as they spend for a 5 to 7 minute speech, but people spend lots and lots and lots of time. And because of that, just that one fact alone, that speaker deserves the best evaluation possible. You need to be prepared to do exactly that. You want to be able to hit all the good points. You want to be able to hit the things for improvement, and you want to be able to hit that encouragement stuff, because it is your job to improve that speaker's ability. So you want to properly prepare and present your evaluation. The first thing you should probably do is read the project. If you happen to be in Pathways, actually go into the project in Pathways and read the different pieces that the speaker is learning from his project, what the objectives are, how they're supposed to be doing it, and all that kind of good information that's inside those little squares inside Pathways. You should read the evaluation guide and understand what each piece means according to the project that the speaker is trying to fulfill. And of course, you should talk to that speaker, because that speaker may have certain things that they want to work on. Now, we all have new people that come to our clubs. Denise is fairly new. Perhaps Denise would rather work on her ahs and ums versus someone like myself, who would rather try to work on how do I build a story to a climax and then bring all the ends and tie it together. So I would be looking for more advanced things than, say, Denise or someone who's just joined Toastmasters for the very first time. So talk to the speaker, find out what the speaker is wanting to work on. And when you read the project, every project has a different purpose and a different objective. It's difficult to evaluate if you're not familiar with the project. Now, don't get me wrong. You can sit there and you can evaluate a speech and you can say blah, blah, blah for this thing or blah, blah, blah for that thing. But if you don't know the nuances of the project, then you don't know exactly what that speaker is trying to learn. And therefore, your evaluation is going to be less effective because you have no connecting point between what you're saying and what they're trying to learn. For instance, if the speaker was doing a humorous speech and you didn't know this, and they just gave a regular speech and there was no laughter, nothing funny in it, then oh my God, that speaker didn't do anything in this project. But you would never know that because you never went through the project to begin with. So it behooves you to get familiar with that project. You should also try to get a hold of the speaker's manual or the projects that are being used inside Pathways and read in depth the different actions and different pieces that the speaker is going to be learning. Every time that you have a project out there, there are objectives and there are very specific centered pieces that you are trying to learn for that particular project. And you want to be able to understand those. So understanding the description and the objective of what the project means and how they are going to learn it and the skills they are trying to develop, that will make your evaluation so much better. Now you want to also read the project's evaluation guide. What does this mean? I've been sitting here now talking several times about you have to read this and you have to read that. And now I'm throwing another thing at you. Here you go. Read another one. Yes, there's a reason. Every project in Pathways, every project has a very specific evaluation guide. That guide explains to you what you as the evaluator should be looking for in those speeches. It even lists questions and gives you ideas and it gives you space to write. This way you can, in your head, think of these questions as the speaker is giving their speech. And if that speaker doesn't solve those questions, it's something for you to say while you give your evaluations. Evaluations should always go to the speaker after the meeting. Do not, I repeat, do not memorize any of the guides. The guides are exactly that. They're guides. And you shouldn't be using them for anything else other than guiding you in your evaluation. You take your notes while the speech is going on, and then you let the guide show you how to go through the evaluation while you're giving it. It's not something that is, oh my God, I had a ping and I had to write it out in blood. This is the way it's gonna happen. No, it's not like that at all. It's simply a guide. You have these guidelines. If you deviate here and there, if it makes the speaker better, feel free. Whatever helps that speaker. Talking to the speaker is important. Now, I mentioned this earlier. This is probably the biggest piece of the evaluation section because it never happens, or I should say almost never happens. How many times have you spoken? Robert, how many times have you spoken?
Numerous. Too many.
Numerous. And how many times has your evaluator talked to you before you gave your speech?
Never.
I rest my case. This is important, but it doesn't happen. And as an evaluator, you should make sure that it happens because there may be something that speaker wants to hone in on. And you are neglecting that speaker's desire to improve if you don't talk to that speaker ahead of time. Your evaluation is greatest if you know what the speaker's goals are. Simple things like decrease in ahs and ers versus something like me where I want to learn more about how do I get you to be emotionally involved in my speeches. For instance, the other day, I had someone tell me, Jim, you know, you can make building mud patties a profession and make it sound so interesting. I would follow you anywhere. That person was so impressed with some of the stuff that I was giving out there that they thought it was wonderful work. Now, this is the type of stuff I want to learn how to do. I want to instill that. I want to inspire people to do things and make things better. Those will be my goals. I'm not so much concerned with the ahs and ums and ers. I probably wiped most of those out by now. You should always find out where the speaker wants help and feedback. I am positive that if you ask that speaker what they wanted feedback on, any evaluator could have turned around to Robert and said, Robert, out of your speech, what exactly do you want feedback on? And I could rest assured and tell every single one of you that Robert would give you an answer. I'm looking to improve A, or I'm looking to improve B. And if you knew that information, you could turn around and you could help Robert improve. You always want to address the goals, even though those goals are not in the list of that guide, because it is the goal that the speaker is looking to achieve. It is something that speaker wants, and it's always about the speaker when you're the evaluator. What precious feedback did the speaker receive? As you're doing the evaluations, avoid the duplicate previous evaluations. If you've been in the club and you hear everyone tell Robert A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, if you go back and tell him A, B again, it's a useless evaluation to him. He wants to know about C and D, and you're telling him about A and B. It's meaningless evaluation. Yes, we can always talk about eye contact, gestures, etc., but they should not detract from the real thing. They should not detract from what that speaker wants and what that speaker's goal is. But I highly encourage you to talk to that speaker before you do the evaluation, because it's important for that speaker to learn those new skills. Let's get to the nitty-gritty here. Your evaluation. You have the speaker's manual. You know what their project is. You already read it. You already read the evaluation guide. Now, what do? When that speaker is speaking, you listen very carefully. You watch very closely. Don't let your mind wander. If you have some noise over here, don't turn around and watch that noise. Concentrate on that speaker. Don't become distracted. Take whatever copious notes you want. You have that evaluation form out in front of you. Write down whatever notes. As soon as you get a specific feeling, oh my God, he made me cry. Write down, you made me cry, and why. Oh, I started laughing. Write down, made me laugh, and why. Those whys of what happens when you feel something are very important to that speaker. And if you don't tell that stuff to that speaker, you are hurting that speaker. When the speech is done, okay, the speech is done. I wrote my notes. I'm good. I don't have to do anything. I'll just wait for the general evaluator to call me. No. Now that the speech is done, you should take the time to prep that evaluation. Now, why do I say this? People have a tendency to get out there. I've seen this. And it baffles me how people do this. They'll pick up that evaluation guide and say, I gave you a 5 on gestures. I gave you a 5 on eye contact. And I'm sitting here to my head, so, oh my God, really? What kind of an evaluation is that? That's a meaningless evaluation. The number means nothing. It doesn't tell the speaker how or why you felt that 5 was a 5. If 5 is so exemplary, that means it touched your heart. It touched your emotions in some way. What emotion did it touch? Tell the speaker about that emotion and how that speech affected it. This is what you do while you're preparing your evaluation, because your delivery will change the way that speaker receives it. And if someone was just going to sit there and say, eye contact 5, gestures 4, to me, that's nothing. That means nothing to me. Now, we have to recognize that when you were listening as an evaluator, you went through a plethora of emotions, but you only have 2 to 3 minutes in order to tell the speaker what you felt. There is no time to cover everything. My recommendation, you take 2 or 3 main points about what you felt was good. You take 1 or 2 important points about what you thought that evaluator or that speaker could do better. And above everything, you be honest. Be honest. Take that word honest, put that into your vocabulary, and exercise that word to the fullest, because your honesty will change the way that speaker receives things and will change the way that speaker talks in the future. And we are all here to make everybody better. Your honesty and your honest feedback will enhance that speaker's ability to improve. Now, I told you about the sandwich technique, and I really want to use this sandwich technique. It was developed in Toastmasters, and I find it to be very, very effective. So if you're going to use the sandwich technique the same way that I do it, I usually like with what I liked. And then I would list all the different things of what I liked, why I liked them, and how they affected me. Then I would talk about something to improve. Now, of course, you don't want to end with the something to improve, because you always want to cushion that. So you want a good thing, a bad thing, a good thing. You always want to end up with encouragement. So you would come up with the 1 or 2 things to improve, because that's what that speaker needs in order to become better. And then you would give the encouragement because you want that speaker to come back. You want them to be here. You want them to speak. You want to hear that improvement. I can't tell you how much improvement I've seen in different speakers. Look, listen to what Leslie did last week when she gave her speech. Oh my God, that has got to be the best speech she ever gave in all of the Toastmaster speeches I have ever heard, by far. Awesome job, Leslie. That was a massive improvement. I can remember when I first joined KW Toastmasters, even though you've been in Toastmasters before, you were still afraid to get up at the lectern. And what you did last week just blew all that stuff right out the window. Awesome job. Great to see you improving. I love it. Now, no matter what you're going to do, you need to be specific. Good points or bad points, it doesn't matter. If you were confused about something, what exactly were you confused about? And why were you confused? If there was something you liked, what exactly did you like? And why did you like it? always remember when you're giving some type of feedback to always have that why, because that why will change the way that speaker does things in the future. How we say things. The way you phrase something has an impact. You can talk about all the good ideas, and I know you mean well, but believe me, if you're using a defensive word, your message is going to be lost. There's just no way to say it any other way. It's going to be. So always use the I felt, I saw, I heard, those type of words and those type of sentences, because it is your opinion. It is not the opinion of everybody in the audience. You can't speak for anyone else because you can only do what you feel, what you think, and what you felt. So don't use generalizations. When you're preparing your evaluation, try to select your words carefully. Speak only for yourself, not that audience. Don't say we felt. Say I felt. Your opinion may differ from the other people in the audience, and you shouldn't speak for them. Avoid things like we believe, we think. Avoid criticisms like saying your A or your B was this, right? Stick to the things that are in terms of I felt, I saw, I heard. Again, if you turn around and you point fingers, they're going to become defensive words, and whatever you're saying is going to be lost, and that speaker is not going to be listening. That speaker is going to turn you off. Use words that refer to you yourself. Always do that. I. Anything other than I, you're speaking for someone else, and it's a wrong generalization. Also, we want to avoid the impersonal or the judgmental. How do I want to say this? If you're out there evaluating, an evaluation is to someone other than the speaker. So if I'm evaluating Leslie and I end up talking to Robert, then that's out. It's not where it belongs. It's not something that's supposed to be there. If you have vague references such as they say, or one must do, or people are, then these type of judgmental sayings will affect the way that the speaker receives it, and they're going to turn the speaker off because it's not what you felt, it's not what you heard, it's not what you liked. You're using some generality, some impersonal thing, and if it's impersonal, then the speaker's not going to do it, right? So you want to avoid those type of things. You want to avoid judgmental phrases as well. Don't say good leaders don't do this, or you did, or you were, or things of that, right? You're not there to judge, right? You're given an evaluation, and it's coming from inside you, and you're being honest about your feelings to that speaker and the speech that they gave. And that's what the speaker wants to hear. So you should always try to describe your actions or your reaction. Sorry. I was impressed by this. I was impressed that you constantly looked at that camera. I was impressed by the vocal variety because when you use that vocal variety, it made me think of different times when I was in the same type of situation. You say what it is, you say the why. Things of that nature will always make that speaker feel better. What I heard, what I liked, what I saw. Now, this is going to be a hard one for people to do. I know even in this club, I've seen people do this a lot. I think I have probably done it myself once or twice, where you repeat the sentences or sounds, or you repeat yourself over and over again. And when you do that, or when I do that, then it becomes like I'm nagging that speaker. And if I'm nagging the speaker, then the speaker is going to tune me out. And they're not going to be listening to anything that I'm saying anymore because I'm just repeating and repeating. So avoid repeating your sentences. This is one of the reasons why you want to take the time to prepare your evaluation after the speech is done. Also try to avoid words like never and always, because these are exaggerations that stretch things all the way out, and it's detracting from the message that you're trying to give. Never use those type of generalities. Wow. Here we are. What are we going to talk about next? Your delivery. What's important about your delivery? When you evaluate, you are giving your opinion. Your delivery should be friendly, direct, and non-threatening in a manner. And if you can't be that way, then you probably need to work on your evaluation. Now, I have heard several different times when we talk about Toastmasters and how people get out there, but the key thing to every single thing in Toastmasters is the relationship. And in this particular case, we're talking about the relationship between the speaker and the evaluator. It's all about the relationship and how you are communicating through that relationship to improve each other. So always be friendly, always be direct, and always be non-threatening. Look directly at your speaker if you're face to face. If not, try looking at that camera and smile. Now, a lot of people sit there and say, oh, well, what's a smile going to do? Believe me, if you're on the phone talking to somebody and you smile, they can hear that smile. It's no different in your delivery as an evaluator. You're not giving a speech, so don't do anything that brings attention to yourself. Avoid exaggerating gestures and a body language. Only use the body language that emphasizes the things that you want that speaker to take care of. And as you conclude, your conclusion determines whether you're going to be on a positive note or a sorrowful note. And that conclusion, when you do it, is what's either going to bring that speaker back and say, yes, I'm going to improve, or it's going to say, oh my God, what did I just jump into? I'm not going to speak again for a long time. So you want to make sure that when you conclude, it's a nice, honest feedback. You give positive reaffirmation so that speaker will come back. Prior to the part of the speech that you really like, talk about the effect that it had on you. Talk about the dramatic improvements that the speaker has made. Congratulate wherever possible. Talk about something that affected you positively from that speech. Yay, Leslie. That was awesome last week. Anything of that nature. And finally, after the speech is done, It's time for you to do two things. You've given your evaluation. Now the meeting is over. You need to go talk to that speaker. There's a reason, as I said before, you only had 2 minutes. Not everything was said in that 2 minutes when you gave your evaluation. Take the time to go back to that speaker. Give them some more feedback. Ask the speaker if there were any comments that the speaker had on your evaluation. Make sure the speaker did not misinterpret anything that you may have said. You want to make sure that speaker has a clear understanding of what you were talking about. If you have more comments, say them at that time. Let that speaker know exactly what else you left out so they can improve. If you could have done differently, what changes would be more beneficial for the speaker the next time? Those are the things that you need to be thinking about. And then if you want to improve for yourself, follow up with the audience. This will make you a better speaker or a better evaluator. You should ask the audience what they thought of the speaker and what they thought of your evaluation of the speaker. Was your assessment actually correct? Was the way you deliver it actually appropriate? Everyone has a difference of opinion. I, as an evaluator, may have opinion A. Robert, as a different evaluator, may have opinion B. Other feedback, if you can know what others' feedback is, then you can help yourself in the future by taking into consideration some of the lessons you learned based on your current evaluation and what the audience gives you as feedback. Whew, I'm long-winded tonight. I don't hear anyone asking questions. I just keep on going. I'm turning into a windbag here.
Well, now that we're asking questions,
well,
I didn't want to disturb you.
I told you to ask questions. I wanted to be dialogue.
I know that, but you were on a roll.
Well, if you're going to wait till the end, let me finish.
I'll wait till the end.
No, go ahead. Come on, I'm only chiding you.
Okay. The importance of understanding what the speech is going to be about, what it only in the speeches, the speaker for that particular meeting, I would encourage or highly suggest that these speeches be posted, or the evaluator is going to be notified what that speech is going to be about earlier, because I can't see a proper preparation for an evaluator to give the type of positive speech that you presented here, because it's a lot of great information, but in order to be able to give that quality feedback, the importance of the speaker providing that information as early as possible needs to be a priority.
That is why I said that I cannot emphasize how important it is that the evaluator speaks to the speaker. We already went through that exercise. Remember, we had asked you how many speeches you gave and how many times the evaluator talked to you, and that part was never done. That's one of the most important pieces, right? The evaluator should be talking to the speaker to know exactly what that speaker is going to be talking about and what that speaker is trying to learn and trying to improve upon, and the skills that they're looking to improve upon. So yes, I absolutely agree with you. That should be done. Now, as the speaker, you have a play in parts of the evaluation, right? So you want to get the most benefit when you are the speaker. So you are supposed to be informing your evaluator of the goals that you want to achieve. So if the evaluator doesn't contact you, you should be contacting the evaluator as a speaker. And you should be doing exactly what we were just talking about, Robert. All right, so you want to talk about what goals there are, what specific things you're trying to improve upon, what skills you're trying to learn and improve upon. And you should be telling the evaluator the specific points that you want them to review. The more that your evaluator knows ahead of time, the more they can help you improve on your speaking. During your evaluation, you want to listen closely to what the evaluator is saying. You should be looking directly at the evaluator, paying attention. You don't want to get distracted. Same way of where the evaluator shouldn't get distracted while you're speaking. You want to suspend any judgment that you hear. There may be times when the evaluator says something that's judgmental. Just let it go in one ear and out the other ear. Be respectful. You don't want to criticize the evaluator, but you want to take what that evaluator is saying and you want to put it to heart. You want to be able to say, these are the skills that I'm trying to do. And you hear that evaluator, and that evaluator says, this is what you did with those skills. And then you put the two together. Did you achieve what you wanted or not? If you did not achieve what you wanted, did the evaluator give you a suggestion in order to achieve? Did they give you a why in order to do something different? It's always important that you as the speaker talk to that evaluator. You as the speaker should also evaluate yourself. I know that you're going to sit here and say, oh, I can't do that, but there are different ways of doing it. You can do it during preparation of your speech. If it was up to me, I would recommend that every speaker who's preparing their speeches do it in front of a video camera, because you'll see yourself and you'll be able to point out and see the different things that you don't want to be doing, but that you're not even cognizant of the idea that you are actually doing them. So it's important that you videotape yourself while you're doing it. You want to be able to sit there and talk about your own things. Did you achieve the purpose that you were going for? What mistakes did you make? When your speech is over, you should write down what you were happy with, what you think you should work on for your next project. And you should always consider each comment and suggestion that comes from every person in the audience, including all those little love notes that they said. You might miss out on valuable feedback if you don't sit there and take into consideration all these different pieces that everyone is feeding you. While they're taking 1 minute to put it together and send it to you, when you absorb it, it becomes a lot longer than 1 minute. And there's a lot of information in there that you can sit there and say, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. And I can improve. And based on the goals that you're trying to achieve, you can take what works and you can forget the things that don't, and you move forward. After the meeting, I recommend that you talk to your evaluator. Same way I recommend that the evaluator talks to you, right? So there was 2 minutes interval. That evaluator said so many different things, but in 2 minutes, there's no way that evaluator can give you everything they felt in a 7-minute speech. So go talk to that evaluator. Pick up the phone if you're in a virtual environment after the meeting, pick up the phone and talk to the evaluator. See what other things that they had to say about your speech that they were not able to get within that 2 to 3 minutes. It is your chance to ask questions of your evaluator. You don't want to attack or berate the evaluator, but you want to be able to get information from the evaluator, and you want to be able to give feedback to the evaluator about the way they did their evaluation. If the evaluator did not mention specific feedback you were looking for, this would be a good time to ask for it. You should also talk to the other club members the same way that the evaluator should talk to other club members. The evaluator is but one person. What did the other people think? Collect those eval forms, those love note forms, collect them. Add them into your results. When I'm on the chat and I get feedback through the chat, I actually collect all those things and I put them in a Word format, and I put it as evaluation from the audience, and I upload it to Pathways along with my eval form, so that I have all of it in one section. So I can go back and I can look at a given speech and I can understand what everyone thought at that speech at that time. Verbal feedback has the greatest impact. So you should always ask others what they thought. Ask others for advice and things that they think you can improve upon. Whew. I saw a hand go up. Yes, Dave.
What do you think about, I know that when you're doing it online and you hand in those little chats that everybody knows exactly who sent it, but when you're in a live meeting and you're passing those little love notes, you call them around, do you encourage people to sign those?
If you want to, I'm not against it. I have had people sign them, and I have had people not sign them. In the chat room, it's not done through everybody. Usually people will select the speaker's name, so it's a private message to the speaker, but the speaker does know who it comes from. So the speaker can always backtrack. Personally, I'm of the mind that if you're going to do a job, you should do a job as if you're going to sign your name to it. No matter what it is. If you scrub toilets, you should be willing to sign your name to it saying, I'm the best toilet scrubber in the world. So I personally, if you're going to give feedback, I think you should put your name on it, but it's not a requirement. Toastmaster evaluation skills are transferable. So you need to learn how to apply them in everyday life. And I say this a lot because in our everyday lives, we evaluate all the time. If you don't believe me, just see the next time you walk into McDonald's and you sit there and you look at the menu and you decide what you want to eat. Why did you pick A over B? You evaluated something. So you're evaluating all the time. Learn to become a better listener. Increase your critical thinking. It's something that we don't do as humans very often. I highly recommend that we do this more often. Using these techniques will aid the receiver of your feedback all the time, because you will learn how to say why, and that why will change the way the speaker perceives things. Encourage them to be better the next time. Always motivate them to do the next project, and by all means, help them to become a better communicator. And now we open the floor to questions. Bum, 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 bum. Let me turn off my screen. And here we are. Oh, hey, Denise. How are you? I thought you were in your car.
I'm home now.
Awesome.
All ears are on you guys. And I.
So what was it effective for you? I know that you had a lot of interest in this particular subject. Did you get what you wanted out of it? Was it worthwhile?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I only heard like in the beginning bits and pieces because I was driving, but I was able to catch on a few things. I think it's good. What you said was when you're preparing for a speech to practice with your camera, and I think that's a really good idea. So I think the next time I do a speech, I'll definitely be doing that. But as far as evaluation goes, you know, you also said if something made you laugh or made you cry, make sure you write that down, just little keynotes on pinpoints on what you want to tell them. So I'm going to go back and listen to the recording, but I think it'll be good.
Awesome. I'm going to drop the slides in the chat room for you.
Okay.
Just in case you want an actual copy of the slides. But
Awesome.
Yes, feel free to go back and listen to the recording. I'm gonna transpose it, and I will talk to the VPE. We're sitting here talking earlier about trying to put these training sessions actually on the website so that people can go back and view some of the trainings that we do after we record them. So yes,
Yeah,
we're doing some improvements.
awesome.
Well, I don't have a question. I have a comment. I thought that was a really good point to take them a moment to talk to the speaker before you begin your evaluation, to know where they're coming from, what they're hoping to work on, and comments on that. And like you said, it's rarely done. No one ever asks me either, but I think this is a good habit that we could begin.
It's something we
Become better
should.
evaluators.
Yes, I agree. It's something that we as evaluators should do. I myself have not done some of that at times.
Mhm.
So, everyone makes that mistake, including myself, and we end up cheating the speaker because we don't do it.
I think the part that you said, ask the audience if they liked your evaluation. I don't know how you could practically do that because we're always on such a time constraint that it sounds good, but I just don't know that we would actually implement that part.
Well, you wouldn't ask them in the meeting, right? You could just pick up the phone and talk, right? You and I talk all the time. There's nothing stopping you from asking me how you did on your evaluation.
Right, right. So just, all right, I guess if it's something that you're not sure about, ask someone if they liked your evaluation.
Yeah, it works all the time. It works all the time for people who give evaluation, but those of us who are afraid to give evaluations, well, can't do much with that. Yes, Dave.
I think that's a point where the general evaluator at the end should be talking about how the evaluators did. That's part of a training point for that. I think that's one of the things that you were doing. But that's not what I raised my hand for. Jim, when I came in, were you talking about round robin evaluations?
We're talking about speech evaluations.
I know, but when you came in, you said something about if somebody says A, B, A, B, and then you come up and you say A, B, A, B. I'm just wondering why would that happen? That wasn't round robin.
That wasn't necessarily round robin. But if you're in a club where, let's say you're the speaker in this particular club, and you've given 6 speeches so far, and in all 6 speeches you heard the same thing. Oh, you had great eye contact. Oh, you have to improve your gestures, blah, blah, blah. And then I come along and I say the same thing. Of what value is that to you? It's not going to be anything, right? So you want to avoid repeating. If you know that there are things that have been said on a constant basis, avoid repeating those because they're not going to help the speaker any. Find something new that's going to actually help the speaker, and always give a why. That why is very important. I know that a lot of people, when they were practicing for the evaluation contest in District 52, they were leaving out that why. And it was something that I was always teaching, and every time that we had evaluation sessions. And one of the people in Success Masters who took that why to heart went and actually won first place at the district level for the evaluation contest.
Wow.
Because of the why. The why is very, very important.
Good to know.
I think one of the big takeaways is exactly what you just spoke about, is repetitiveness of an evaluation. I don't want to be repetitive of what you're just saying, but I like this, or I like that, or I like that. It's nice, but it's not really beneficial in my education with respect to Toastmasters. Why I got into Toastmasters. The constructive, but yet critical, but in a constructive way of me improving myself. I value that more than, well, I like the way you moved your hands. Yes, that's important. If if you're moving your hands around and it's blocking your face, yeah, that's great. But how did you get my message? That's the bottom line. And was the message delivered in a positive way that as the audience or yourself, being a personal opinion, would want more? That's the way I took the ABCs, and because I want the DEs, D, E, F, G, because I want to become better from an educational level within Toastmasters.
Now, everybody here heard that, correct?
Yes, we did.
So now everyone jump on that bandwagon the next time Robert speaks. Let's see if we can get all the way out to the Z.
But, in reality, when you give a presentation, especially in this environment, the webcam environment, it's important because most people don't even get on camera at their place of employment. It's like everyone's afraid. But when you're delivering that, I try to get it on camera as much as I can because you're meeting with people and you want to know what their expressions are, what that context is. And I think that Toastmasters provides that context that on your message. And it's most important. So, and that's why I would benefit from hearing everybody. When I deliver a speech, I don't want to repeat, but did I get that message in a positive way that it was clear and concise?
Sure.
Well,
Awesome.
I think Jim's technique with the sandwich technique is really important. And just because someone's been in Toastmasters for a while doesn't mean they know how to give a good evaluation. I'll never forget the time. It was a very prominent Toastmaster came to our meeting and gave an evaluation of a brand new speaker. First meeting, they gave a speech and this evaluator ripped them apart. And everything this evaluator said was accurate, but there was no heart. No heart at all. It was just facts. Boom, 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 and knocked him down. And he never came back. And we had a full house that night. We must have had 30 people there at KW Toastmasters. Never saw this new person again. So I think that's why it's so important to start with the sandwich, say something that you like, fluff them up a little bit with some of the basics, and then give them something to work on and then end on a positive note.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
That could be disastrous. Jim mentioned something I believe is really important. Adding on to what you just mentioned, Leslie, and that is relationships. I believe that in any club, you're part of a club. And in that club, you have trust amongst your members. We provide this and that, but I'm entrusting you for that feedback in a positive way that's going to benefit me, vice versa. And I think that relationships of learning about one another and how we deliver our speeches, because we all deliver our speeches differently. And so I think that relationship on actually learning about an individual's makeup could actually benefit on what you're looking for in the delivery of a speech.
Awesome. So Vivian promised to ask some poignant questions. I'm still waiting for her to unmute herself and say something.
She always has a lot to say.
Come on, Vivian. Let's hear what you got to say.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
He stepped away.
My voice is not reaching the Philippines. Uh-oh. All right. So if there are no more questions, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording. Are there any other questions? No questions? Okay, let me stop recording. Where's the record here? and stop recording.